I'm Christiana Szilard with Action for Children, and I want to tell you about our new series called Pull Up a Chair. We're hosting real conversations between our resident experts at Action for Children and parents just like you to foster informative dialogue on topics that matter to parents, guardians, and caregivers. Our hope is to provide you with valuable insights, practical tips, and emotional support to allow you to embrace and better navigate this grand adventure called parenthood. So now that you're here, pull up a chair. We've saved you a seat.
I am Sarah Krugman. I am the Family Engagement Coordinator here at Action for Children, and my team essentially helps families find childcare.
I'm Kat Applegate. I'm the Director of Childcare and Education Initiatives here at Action for Children.
So Kat, what is childcare and why is it so essential?
Well, to start, childcare is the formal and often informal circumstances where children receive care from someone other than their primary caregivers, typically other than their parents. It can occur in centers, it can occur in homes, it can occur in formal or informal settings. And it's an opportunity for children to interact with other adults and other children that they might not otherwise, and have those social experiences and those learning experiences that can be so valuable for them in that immediate time frame, but also long term. Childcare is incredibly important for a few reasons. Childcare provides a safe and enriching place for children to be while their primary caregivers work. In order for those grown-ups to earn for their families, advance their careers, advance their education, their children need a safe place to be. That's essential. If those children don't have a safe place to be, then those parents are out of work. So we have to have available, accessible childcare for children for those parents to work. It's not only that though, it's also good for its own reason. It's good for those kids too, that having that environment where children can grow and learn socially, academically, cognitively, physically, all of those things is going to make a huge difference in those children's well-being, again, both in that immediate sense, but also long term.
I think that what gets forgotten a lot is the science behind all of this, is that, birth to 5, the brain does all of the things, it just is growing so much from birth to 5, and we know that. And so it's hard to kind of get, maybe the public around the fact that it's not just babysitting, that it has value and it is important, and those children need to be in those care environments to have those experiences, because what takes place there affects their whole life. And it's really important that it is quality.
Yeah, I think that's hard to get across because we don't see that. You don't see what's going on in those little kids' brains, and you might see the baby in the car seat just lying there. Yeah, but we even hear grown-ups saying they can't do anything yet. But there's so much going on there that we can really capitalize on. That's totally transformational for their lives. So what's really fascinating about the early childhood field and how it's grown is I do feel like we're starting to recognize, this is really important. This isn't just, it's not just women's work. It's not just the care, you send your kid off to the babysitter while you do what's really important. We're starting to learn that this is really critically important work. Part of that is due to some of the research that shows that really high quality, really good childcare can have incredible impact on children's lives, both in that moment and in the long term.
When a parent needs to find quality childcare, what does that look like? What should they be looking for?
That's such a great question. There's kind of 2 big, broad categories of stuff to look for when you're selecting a childcare. Maybe even more, but I'll stick with 2. So one is the stuff that you can define and count and see, and that's very important. That could be the number of adults in the classroom, the number of children in the classroom. It can even be how many different types of art supplies are there. Then are there books? Are there plenty of books? Are there just a few books? those, and then it can also be things that are more objective, even if you can't directly see them, like the years of experience that the teachers have or their education. Those things are really, really critically important. Then there's this whole other category of quality components that are more subjective, and they're more about feel, but they're so important. That's about the interactions that children have with the adults in the classroom. When you walk into the classroom, how does it feel? Does it feel stressed and anxious, or does it feel happy and peaceful? When a child gets into a conflict with another child, which is going to be inevitable even in the very best programs, how do the teachers respond to that? Do they shame the child? Is the child punished and separated from the group? Or are they taught, here's how you can handle that in a way that's going to be kinder to your friend and help get your own needs met? How do those interactions look? Those things are harder you can't check off the box for some of those things, but it's those interactions that are critically important too. So what are the qualities that you recommend parents and other caregivers look for when selecting a child care?
Yeah, so when parents contact Action for Children, we take them through the whole process, which is they tell us the problem that they have, which is they can't find childcare, they need childcare. And then my staff takes down their information, and we pull providers from our database that could potentially meet their needs. And I say potentially because you're not really going to know until you get there and do a tour and see those things that make a quality child care program. And in Ohio, we have Step Up to Quality, which is a good indicator, but it's really important that a parent goes into the program and experiences it and sort of asks the questions that we tell them to ask, which is, what is your curriculum? What do you believe about child care? Are you going to, sit my kid on a high chair and give them a coloring page and a crayon all day? Or are they gonna have real, authentic experiences with open-ended materials that are gonna build those brain connections? How long has your staff worked here? What is your continuing education policy on them? Do they get training? Do they like where they work? All the things that you can kind of feel when you get in. I also think it's really important, we say contract is really important because you want to make sure that any child care provider is going to be reliable.
So I think something that's really important is finding a good fit for your family. So there are center-based child cares and there are home-based child cares. And there's distinctions among all of these. There's diversity within each of those two big categories, but those are kind of the two big ones. Within each of those, it's really important to find something that works for that individual child and that child's grown-ups and just the setting for that family. So it might be that this family observes a halal diet, and this is a center that can support it, and this is a center that doesn't know what you're talking about. So that's going to be a key priority for that family. A really wonderful thing about family child care is that it tends to have small sizes. In family child care settings, typically it's up to 6 children, including that child care provider's own children at times. But that means a small group size. It means one group, which means that siblings can potentially be together. It offers the benefits of multi-age caregiving in one setting, which can be really great for kids too. And it also means consistency, that you have potential there for a child to enter as an infant and stay through toddlerhood, preschoolhood, and then come to aftercare, after school. And that kind of consistency is so valuable for a child and so reassuring for a family too. So family child care could be a really great option, especially if that kind of flexibility is needed.
I think what we know about children is that not everything works for everyone. So you have some children that really thrive in a center-based environment, which has potentially higher ratios, or you have children that really thrive in that small home-like, up to 6 for a type B or up to 12 for a type A type of environment. And I think that it's really critical that we have both, because not every child is going to be best served in one particular type of environment. So it's really important to have options for families so they can choose what is best for their child.
So we know there are these core components of quality, you know, the adult-child ratio, what the feel and the mood is like in programs, but there's going to be variation in what setting is best for families based on that family's unique needs and preferences. So I think it's really valuable that your program doesn't say, here's the one you should go to. We say, here are some options you should go and explore and define for yourself. Which of these is going to best meet your needs? I like that over on my side, we're working with those same childcare programs. And there too, we're not saying, you know, you have to do X, Y, and Z. We're saying, what are your goals to improve the quality of your program? What do you want to work on? You want to work on assessments? Great. We're going to help you do more authentic assessments with more of your kids and then put that data to better use. So we're going to listen to what their goals are to improve their quality and help them reach those goals. So while I think both of our programs are helping families to have choices and to have reliable choices and licensed, credible options, we're both helping to programs and families to reach their own goals that fit them.
Yeah, I think the important piece is really like provider and parent education. You know, quality is, we know what quality is. Yeah. We know it's kind of been proven. These are the markers of quality. So it's really important to have, you know, CCI team members that are in those programs talking about that quality from day one. When they're licensed, they get a coach right away. And I think that that is so critical that they're in there and talking with those providers about that. And on my team, parent education is a huge part of what we do because we don't rate or recommend. It's really important that they know what quality looks like and what types of things they're looking for, and those things that make them feel comfortable when they go into a provider. So our two, you know, sides of Action for Children are really well meshed together to really provide that comprehensive experience to families.
Yeah, I like the way you put that we're helping parents to find quality and we're helping childcare providers to increase their quality. We're all kind of trying to come together in the same place. So when do you recommend a family start looking for childcare?
Yeah, so really, it kind of depends on the age of the child, as sort of a baseline, right? Infant care has the lowest teacher-to-child ratios, so it's very difficult sometimes to find infant spots. So my sort of saying is, if you know you're pregnant, you should be looking for childcare. You should be looking right away. Just because wait lists sometimes, I've had family that they put their baby on a wait list and they were a toddler by the time the space was open. So infant care is really important to start looking early, especially if you're a new parent, because you're going to want to go through that whole process of, you know, there's potentially some nerves there. You're going to leave your baby with some stranger. So being able to take that time and spend that time to really explore childcare and make sure that you visit multiple providers to see what's the best fit for you, I think is really key. I recommend people do that. It sounds ridiculous. When they get out of school, like end of June, July, you should be looking for after school care for the fall, because school in my area literally just started. And I know that my staff are getting calls now about, oh my gosh, surprise! Surprise, I need to find care for my school ager. And in Central Ohio, transportation is really tough. It's a really tough thing for families. You ideally want a provider that's going to be able to pick your kiddo up after school and watch them until you're done with work. Otherwise, you have to leave work and get your kiddo and take them somewhere. And school systems try to, you know, kind of fill the slot a little bit with latchkey programs, but they don't have spaces for everyone. So the long and the short of it is early. The earlier you start to look for childcare, the better off you're going to be. 9 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. I have a team on the phones all the time during that time period to talk with parents. They can reach out via our website. They can do an online search themselves if they want to get into the system and do it. Some parents are real hands-on and they want to go through that whole process themselves. But for those that really want help, they can call us, they can talk to one of my specialists. We will take some information from them, what they're looking for, where they're looking for, what the times are, how many children they have, what their ages are. And we will pull a list of providers that potentially meet their needs. And I say potentially because childcare is tough. And I think that we do the absolute best that we can for everybody. But sometimes you're not going to meet everybody's need. You talked about earlier about tough choices sometimes, and sometimes it's like the best choice out of some things that might not potentially, you might not have everything you want. But we try to make sure parents know how to select the best choice out of the options that they have.
And the service is totally free,
It
right?
is totally free. Anyone can call. Referrals are provided via email. If we have some folks that maybe don't have access to email, we will send them. We will send a bird. However, we need to get a referral to them, we will get it to them. So yeah, it is a totally free service.
I think that's so wonderful because we know that there are areas that have fewer childcare programs, but we also know that even if you're in a dense, urban, populated area, finding childcare is really hard.
Yeah.
So I called Action for Children when I was looking for childcare for my kids years before I started working here. So it's a wonderful opportunity and service that can be provided for the entire community.
Yeah, and our particular program has been around for a really long time in the agency. It has a lot of longevity. So we're really happy to provide that service to families.
The truth is that childcare is really expensive. Anyone who's had a child in childcare knows that and has felt that. It costs a lot to provide really good childcare, and it's true that often higher quality costs more, and too often it's the primary caregivers that bear the burden of that cost. But it's the overhead of a childcare program. I mean, if you imagine imagine a center that has 50 children in it. Think about what that insurance policy looks like, right? To have 50 children there with a playground out back too. I mean, that's going to cost a lot of money. So many of the materials that are used in a child care program are used up. You buy paint, but then 2 days later that paint's gone, right? You got to buy more paint. But even things that are more permanent, like desks and chairs, if you have all those kids using them, you got to replace them every few years too. So, and to find high quality staff, we have to pay these people a decent wage. And so too often it's the burden of the expense of childcare is placed too heavily on the parents, but it's often placed too heavily on those childcare providers too, in the form of not paying them what they're worth.
Right.
I mean, we see that a lot too. We need more dollars to provide care that is actually really enriching and really brain building. And there's some ways where I think we're getting there. I think we're starting to shift, starting to realize this is important, but we're not there yet. We need more support on a broader level.
In one word, how did this conversation make you feel?
I think I feel hopeful. We've got work to do. We're not done yet, but there's so much great stuff that we offer at Action for Children, and there's more people in our world that are excited and energized by the potential that investments in childcare can make. So I'm hopeful. I'm feeling good. What about you? What's your one word?
I was gonna say something very similar, but definitely energized. I think it is a real privilege to do this work, to help these families find childcare. And I think that my team is so excited and they want to help families. And as long as we can get support for the community as a whole, providers, parents, all, I think that there's a reason to hope for the future. Kat, thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thanks so much, Sarah. It was great talking with you today.